The video started in the middle of dinner. Crystal glasses clinked. A piano played soft in the corner. Mr. William Stone, billionaire, tall, silver hair, sharp eyes, raised his spoon over a shining bowl of stew. His wife, Grace, smiled at their guests. Their children, Oliver and Lily, swung their feet under the long table. The family chef stood by the doorway with a proud grin. And then the giant wall screen in the dining hall flickered like a blinking eye. "Is that the kitchen feed?" someone whispered. On the screen, a grainy black and white clip showed a small figure in an apron standing by a pot. The apron had a little stitched name on the pocket. "M.I.A." She looked left. She looked right. She lifted her arm. The room held its breath. On the screen, the girl washed her armpit in the pot. Spoons fell. Chairs scraped. A guest gagged. Mr. Stone froze. The pianist hit a wrong key and stopped. Lily covered her face with both hands. Oliver said, "No way." Everyone turned at once toward the kitchen doors. At that exact second, the doors swung open and Mia, the same girl from the screen, stepped in carrying a silver tray and a steaming tureen. Ethan, Mr. Stone's nephew, shot to his feet and pointed. "She's bringing that same stew now." The video kept playing. Mia in the clip leaned closer to the pot. The camera zoomed by itself like an eye pushing in. Grace rose halfway from her chair. "Turn it off," she said, but no one moved. The screen froze on Mia's face, caught between fear and something else. Shock grew like a storm inside the room. The steam from the tureen curled in the air. 1,000 eyes stared at one girl and one pot and one terrible, unbelievable moment. Then the lights dimmed. The screen blinked again. And a second sound, small but clear, rolled across the long table. Lily's whisper, thin as a thread, "Why would Mia do that?" The tray in Mia's hands shook. "Now let me take you back to how this day began." Mia was 19. She wore her hair in a simple bun because it made her look neat. She liked blue dresses with white collars. She tied her apron double tight so it would never sag. She was new to the Stone house, only 3 months in, but she already knew every hallway and every door. She knew which chandelier buzzed when it was about to go out. She knew which window in the east wing caught the morning sun and made the floors look like liquid gold. She also knew who smiled with their whole face and who smiled with only their teeth. Mia woke up before the birds. She made her bed, folded her blanket in a square, and whispered a short prayer that sounded like this: "Please help me be kind. Please help me do good." She kept a photo of her grandma by the lamp. Grandma lived far away in a small town and grew roses in red clay. Mia sent her half of every paycheck. "Kindness," Grandma always said over the phone, "is not soft. Kindness is strong. It holds the world up." Downstairs, Pete the driver was already sipping coffee by the service door. He was a tall man with wide shoulders and gentle eyes. "Morning, Star," he said. He called Mia Star because she never complained at sunrise. "Morning, Pete," she said. "You want toast?" "Only if you take half," he said. She took half and smiled. Sharing felt like clean water on a hot day. In the yard by the front gate, an old woman sold oranges from a small cart. She had a limp and a hat too big for her head. When the guards weren't looking, Mia slipped out with a bottle of cold water and a small packet of biscuits. "Please take this," she said quietly. "It's hot already." The woman's eyes watered. "Bless you, child." Mia didn't tell anyone. "Kindness isn't a billboard," Grandma said. "It's a door you open for one person at a time." Inside, the household buzzed with work. Today, Mr. Stone would host a charity dinner for city teachers. Newspapers had been talking about him all week. Some called him a hero. Some called him proud. He read none of it. He trusted 2 things, his numbers and his family. In the kitchen, Chef Brenda rolled out dough like she was punishing it. She had a voice that could cut glass and a face that looked like a closed door. She didn't like new people. She didn't like mistakes. She didn't like Mia. "You move too slow," Brenda said without looking up. "I'm learning," Mia said. "I can stay late." "You think staying late makes you fast?" "No, ma'am. It makes me better." Brenda snorted. "We'll see." Tom, the head of security, walked through the back corridor to check cameras. He had a calm face. He had eyes that saw everything. "Good morning, Mia," Tom said. "Remember your ID. The system nags me if anyone forgets." "Yes, sir." Mia touched the card on her lanyard like it was a badge of honor. "Tom," Brenda said, "the pantry camera keeps blinking." Tom frowned. "I'll send someone." "Don't unplug anything." She sniffed. "I don't touch your wires. Don't touch my ovens." Tom gave a small nod and moved on. All morning Mia worked. She carried baskets. She chopped onions. She labeled jars with the neatest handwriting you ever saw. When Lily came in to try on a pink bow and sneak a cookie, Mia tied the bow just right and gave her only half a cookie. Half now, half after dinner, Mia said. Deal? Deal, Lily said, smiling a chocolate smile. She hugged Mia's waist. You're my favorite. Mia's heart warmed. She had always wanted a little sister. You're my favorite too, she whispered back. By noon the sun was high. The kitchen felt like a hot drum. Brenda barked orders. Mia answered yes, yes, yes. She made a salad so bright and crisp it looked like a painting. She polished silver so hard she could see her face. When Pete came by to ask if anyone needed anything from the store, Mia said, Could you get more ginger? The fresh kind. It smells like clean rain. On it, Pete said. At 4, Mia went with Tom to return a crate to the storage room by the server closet. The server closet was where all the security cameras sent their eyes, the wires, the whispering fans, the blinking lights. The hallway was empty and a little cold. Tom tapped a code and opened the closet. Lights blinked like stars on a tiny sky. He checked a black box, checked a cable, checked a small red light. The pantry camera keeps dropping frames, he said to himself. I'll reset it. Mia held the crate and waited. Tom smiled a thin smile. Is that bad? Every camera tells a story. It's annoying, he said. But it only knows where bad cameras tell bad stories. Mia thought about that. Stories? She thought about how people point their eyes and see only part of the room. She thought about how kindness sees more. At 5, guests began to arrive. Teachers in neat suits. City folks in glowing dresses. The piano man tested a sweet tune. The chandeliers woke up like trees of light. Mia put fresh flowers on the long table and made sure the napkins looked like small boats. Grace Stone came in with her gentle smile and said, Oh, Mia, the table looks wonderful. Thank you, ma'am, Mia said softly. Grace touched Mia's arm. You work with care, she said. I see that. Those words were like a gift Mia would keep for a long time. At 6, Mr. Stone gave a short welcome in his strong voice. He said the city's future lived in classrooms, and he would always stand with teachers. People clapped. He nodded and sat. Dinner began. In the kitchen, the final dish simmered. The Stone family's favorite stew with beef seasoned just right and ginger that smelled like a good memory. Brenda hovered over it like a hawk. Don't let it burn, she told Mia. Not even a little. Yes, ma'am, Mia said. She stirred the pot. Steam rose and laced her cheeks. She wiped her forehead with the back of her hand and stepped back. Heat wrapped the room. A fly tapped the window and buzzed away. Somewhere in the house, a phone pinged. In the hallway, footsteps passed and faded. Mia reached for the ladle, then heard a small sound, like a click. She looked up at the tiny black circle on the wall. The pantry camera. It stared at her with its round, unblinking eye. You moved too slow, Brenda's voice rang in her head. I am learning, Mia told herself. She ladled the stew into the silver tureen. She wiped the rim until it shone. She took a breath to make her hands steady. Then she lifted the tray. Right then, far away in the dining hall, the wall screen flickered to life. What played on that screen, what made spoons fall and faces twist, felt like a nightmare someone else put in Mia's name. The video made it look like she had leaned over the pot and done the unthinkable. The clip had no sound, only the rough hiss of poor camera feed. But every face in the room made its own sound. Gasps, groans, dry heaves, angry whispers rising into a wave. Back in the kitchen corridor, Mia could hear nothing yet. Only the piano and her own breath. She pushed through the doors with the tray, careful, careful, careful. And then she met the storm. The long table turned like a school of fish. Eyes, so many eyes, pinned her where she stood. The screen behind them froze on her face, blown up 30 times larger like a bad poster. The smell of spice and ginger floated up and turned sour in the air. Ethan pointed like an arrow. Don't let her serve that. Don't you see the screen? Mia's heart slammed against her ribs. She looked up. She saw herself on the screen in black and white. She watched herself in a thing she did not remember doing. The room spun then snapped back. No, she whispered, but her voice had no legs. It fell flat and died on the carpet. Brenda rushed in behind her, hands on her hips, eyes bright with something like triumph or fear. Mia could not tell. What did I say? Brenda cried. What did I say about the stew? Grace Stone stood. Mia, she said in a voice that shook, tell me this isn't real. Tom appeared by the wall panel, fingers flying over buttons. The feed was locked, he muttered. Who turned this on? His calm face had lines now like cracks in glass. Mr. Stone rose slowly like a mountain standing up. Put the tray down, he said to Mia. His voice was very soft and that made it more scary. Now. Mia's hands obeyed. The tray settled with a small clink that sounded too loud. Tears burned behind her eyes, but she kept them there. She had told herself a long time ago that tears were private. She would not give them to a room that wanted a show. "I didn't do that," she said, her voice small but steady. "Sir, I did not." Ethan laughed without humor. "We can all see it." Lily pulled on her mother's sleeve. "Mom," she said, "Mia wouldn't hurt us." "She wouldn't." Grace put a hand on Lily's hair, but she did not answer. A guest near the end of the table took out a phone and pointed it at the screen. Another whispered, "This will be on the news." Another said, "This is what happens when you trust strangers." Mia felt tiny, like a dot on a page. She looked around for a place to stand that felt safe, but the whole room felt like broken ice. Pete, by the doorway, looked at her with eyes that said, "Hold on." Tom tried a different panel. The screen blinked and then refused to go dark, like a stubborn eye. In that same second, the fire alarm chirped once and then stopped. A light above the server closet down the hall clicked from green to red. Tom's radio crackled. "Control to Tom," a voice said. "We've got a forced login on the media wall." "Who?" Tom said into the radio. "Unknown," the voice said. It came from inside the house. Inside the house. The words walked around the room and grew bigger. Mr. Stone placed a hand flat on the table. He looked at Mia not like a boss but like a father who wanted to be sure before he got angry. "Is there anything you want to tell me?" he asked. Mia's mouth opened. Her truth lined up inside her, simple and straight. "I am kind. I am careful. I did not do this." But truth is sometimes small when fear is big. She managed only, "Sir, please?" And then something else happened. The back doors of the hall burst open as if a wind had pushed them. The hallway beyond flashed with white light. Reporters. Cameras. Microphones. The leak had jumped from the wall screen to the world outside in minutes, and the world had come running to eat. "How did they get in?" Grace gasped. Tom spun toward the doors. "Security," he called. Cameras popped like firecrackers. Voices rose into a rough storm. "Mr. Stone, do you know your maid? Is the food contaminated? Who posted the video? Do you deny? Is this a health crime?" Mia stepped back. The tray edge caught her hip. The tureen wobbled. She grabbed it fast and held it steady. A reporter tried to surge past Pete. Pete blocked him with one big arm. "No, sir," Pete said low and firm. "Not one step." Chaos climbed like a wave. Some guests stood. Some shouted. Lily started to cry. Oliver pulled her close. Grace's eyes filled but did not spill. Mr. Stone looked like a man fighting a storm with his bare hands. And then the house alarms wailed for real, long and sharp and endless. Tom's radio screamed over the noise. "Tom, the server closet, the lock is broken, the feed is being pushed, someone's in the system." Tom looked at Mr. Stone. Mr. Stone looked at the hallway. Brenda looked at the stew like it had betrayed her. The reporters pushed. The guards pushed back. The piano man covered his keyboard with both arms as if it were a child. Mia stood in the center of it all, heart pounding so loud she could hear it in her ears. She felt the room tilt. She felt eyes and lights and voices crash down. She felt a choice rise up inside her like a hard, bright coin. Run or stand. Grandma's voice walked into her mind. Kindness is strong. It holds the world up. Mia set the ladle down. She lifted her chin. "I didn't do this," she said a little louder now. "And I will not run." No one heard her. The house was too loud. Tom pointed at two guards. "Seal the doors. Clear the press. Protect the kids." He turned toward the hallway at a sprint. Mr. Stone moved with him. Pete went to the children. Grace took Lily's hand. Brenda grabbed the silver lid with shaking fingers. Mia looked toward the server hallway where red light flashed like a warning heart. She thought of that blinking camera. She thought of Tom saying bad cameras tell bad stories. She thought of the old woman at the gate, Pete's half toast, Lily's pink bow, Grace's warm hand, Mr. Stone's soft voice. She thought of how fast a good name can be broken and how slow it is to repair. Beyond the doors, the reporters shouted a new word in one rough voice. "Police!" The front gates of the mansion banged open. Sirens cut through the night air like knives. Blue lights washed the walls. Someone screamed. Glass shattered somewhere far off. The dining hall, which had begun as a place of light and music, now felt like a stage where fear was the loudest actor. "Stay where you are," a guard shouted. Everyone stay calm. But calm had left the room and did not come back. Tom reached the hallway. He looked once over his shoulder at Mr. Stone, then disappeared toward the server closet, where the red light blinked and blinked and blinked. And with the cameras flashing, the alarms crying, and the whole city beginning to pour through the gates, the mansion's fire-safe doors started to slide down from the ceiling with a heavy, grinding sound, thick panels that would seal the hall and lock everyone inside until security reset the system. The first door thumped into place by the west wall. People screamed. The second door began to drop above the main entrance, right where the reporters were trying to push through. Pete grabbed Oliver and Lily and pulled them back. Mr. Stone threw an arm around Grace's shoulders. Brenda yanked the silver lid off the stew as if to prove something in front of 100 witnesses. And Mia stepped forward into the middle of it all with both hands raised, eyes on the hallway, and saw a shadow move inside the flickering red light of the server room. Someone was in there. Someone who wanted this. The second fire-safe door fell another foot. "Tom?" Mr. Stone shouted. "What's happening?" Tom's voice came from the hall, rough, breathless, and urgent. "Sir, we've got a breach." The heavy door over the main entrance slammed halfway down with a thunder that shook the glasses on the table. "Tap like, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next." The heavy door over the main entrance slammed the rest of the way down with a boom that shook the floor. The reporters on the outside were cut off. The crowd inside the hall gasped like one person. The fire-safe panels sealed again and again around the room until the hall felt like a metal box. The piano keys rattled. The chandeliers trembled. The wall screen still showed that awful frozen image of Mia's face, black and white, as big as a billboard. "Everyone stay calm." Tom's voice crackled from the hallway. "Do not push. Do not run." But fear never listens right away. Some guests moved toward the side doors. Others tried to stand on chairs to see overheads. Someone cried, "I can't breathe." Someone else shouted back, "Sit down." Grace held Lily close. Oliver tried to look brave but his mouth shook. Mr. Stone put both hands up like a traffic officer. "Please," he said steady and deep, "do not crowd the doors. We are safe. The doors are only a lockdown. Tom is handling it." The crowd's noise dipped, then rose again, then dipped a little more. People will borrow calm if a leader lends it. Mia's eyes stayed on the hallway where the red light blinked. She watched shadows jump across the floor as people moved. She thought of Tom's words, "We've got a breach." Her heart beat hard but the beat kept time. She took one breath in, one breath out. Then she turned to the smallest people first. "Lily," Mia said gently, "take my hand." Lily's fingers were cold. She pressed close to Mia's apron like it was a shield. "I don't like the doors," Lily whispered. "It sounds like a monster." "It's just metal doing its job," Mia said. "Monsters don't work 9 to 5. A small laugh escaped Lily's tears. Mia used that little laugh like a tiny rope and pulled Lily toward a safer corner away from the big table. Oliver followed, standing tall beside his sister like a small knight. Pete leaned in, eyes still on the crowd. "I can move the car if they open the gates," he said to Mr. Stone. "I'll get the kids out first." "Thank you," Mr. Stone said. "Stay close." Chef Brenda stood by the silver tureen, the lid clutched in her hand like a shield. Her eyes, dark and sharp, slid to the stew and back to Mia. "This is ruined now," she muttered, half to herself, half to anyone who would hear. "All of it ruined." Mia swallowed. "Mrs. Stone," she said softly to Grace, "may I take Lily to the side table with the water pitchers? It's quieter there." Grace looked at Mia for a second that felt like a test. Her eyes were full of worry but not hate. "Yes," she said. "Thank you." Mia led Lily and Oliver to a side table near the far wall where tall glass pitchers sat like clear towers. She poured water slowly so the sound would be gentle. She handed the first cup to Lily, the second to Oliver, then took a small sip herself to show it was okay. When people are afraid, they watch faces before they trust words. "Is it my fault?" Lily asked in a tiny voice. "I brought Mom to see the big screen last week and said it was cool." "No, sweetheart," Mia said. "Doors and screens and wires are just tools. Good people decide what they do. Bad people decide what they do. That's not on you." Oliver looked up at Mia. "Do you think someone made that video look like you?" Mia kept her voice even. "I think the world can be unfair," she said. "But I also think truth is strong. It might walk slow but it walks straight. We will help it." Oliver nodded like a soldier receiving orders. Lily squeezed Mia's hand. "You're kind," she whispered. "Kind people don't do bad kitchen things." "Thank you," Mia said. She didn't let herself cry. She let herself stand. Across the room, a teacher in a blue dress sat down and fanned herself. Another guest helped her with a glass of water. Two men who had started to argue stopped and said sorry at the same time. Fear can break people but it can also make them reach out. Small good things began to float across the room like paper boats. Mr. Stone moved along the table, using simple words like a flashlight. "Here's what will happen," he said. "Security will clear the hallway. The system will reset. The doors will lift. No one will be stuck. You have my word. People need a plan they can hold in their hands." Then his phone buzzed. He looked down and his strong face tightened. He showed the screen to Grace. Her lips pressed thin. Grace passed the phone to Tom's guard near the door. The guard spoke into his radio at once. "Copy," he said. "We see it." "What is it?" Brenda asked too quick. Mr. Stone didn't answer her. He turned toward the hallway and called, "Tom?" Tom's voice came back, closer now but strained. "Almost there, sir." The server panel was forced. Someone fed the media wall from a local device. "I'm isolating it. Do not touch that wall screen." As he said it, the frozen image on the wall shivered like the screen took a breath. Then, without anyone touching the remote, the picture moved. The black and white clip rewound in a jerky blur. A bar at the bottom showed a timestamp moving backward. Someone whispered, "It's playing again." Another said, "No, it's different." The clip stopped at a new frame. Same kitchen. Same pot. Same apron with MIA stitched on it. But this time the camera angle had shifted slightly as if it came from a different eye. The picture was clearer, too clear for an old pantry camera. Mia's stomach fell. In the clip, the girl in the apron reached toward the pot. She held a small, dark bottle. She tipped it. A few drops fell. The girl's face didn't turn toward the lens. Her hair bun sat the same way Mia's bun sat. Her hands looked like Mia's hands. The room moaned. Someone shouted, "Poison?" Someone else groaned, "Call the police." Another voice cried, "Shut it off." Grace's hand flew to her mouth. Mr. Stone's jaw set like rock. Brenda made a sound like a knife pulled from a drawer. Lily pressed into Mia's side. "Make it stop," she whispered. Mia looked at the screen and then at Tom's guard. "That's not our camera angle," she said, her voice steady somehow. "That's a phone. Or a tablet. Someone stood in that pantry and filmed from their hand." The guard heard her. He spoke into his radio. "She's right. Secondary device. Check the pantry for mounts or stands." The wall screen went black. Then it flashed blue. Then black again. Tom's voice burst through the radio. "It's a fight for control. I need 30 seconds. 30 seconds can feel like 30 years when a whole room is watching the same bad magic show." People began to talk in small fast sentences, like birds in a sudden storm. Mr. Stone raised one hand again. "No one touch the food," he said. "No one eat. No one leave the hall without security." "I told you," Brenda said, her words sharp and bright. "I told you new hires mess up everything." "I told Brenda." Grace's voice cut through like a bell. "Not now." Brenda closed her mouth, but her eyes kept talking. Mia set another cup of water on the table for a trembling teacher. "Here," she said gently. "Small sips." "Thank you," the woman whispered. "You're very calm." "I'm practicing," Mia said. "I want to be the kind of person I need right now." The woman's eyes filled. "I needed to hear that," she said. She took another sip and breathed slower. On the far side of the hall, Ethan, sharp jaw, expensive watch, started filming with his own phone. He moved his hand to get the best angle of the stew and Mia and the family. Pete stepped between Ethan and Mia like a wall that could walk. "Put the phone down," Pete said. "It's evidence," Ethan said. "I'm helping." "You're feeding a fire," Pete said. "That's different." Ethan's mouth twisted, but he lowered the phone a little. He liked to be seen as smart. He didn't like to be seen as unkind. The radios burst again. Tom sounded closer now. "Isolate complete," he said. "We've got the wall back. I'm rebooting. Doors will lift in 60 seconds if the system cooperates." A breathy cheer rose. People want to hope. It makes the air lighter. The wall screen blinked to the default background, a slow loop of the Stone family crest. No more ugly clips. No more forced feed. The red light in the hallway turned steady green. The heavy doors shuddered like sleepers waking up. "1," a guard called to Tom over the radio. "2, 3. Come on, baby." The main door rose an inch. Then 2 inches. A little more. A little more. The other panels began to move up as well. The hall felt less like a box and more like a room again. Someone clapped once by mistake and then stopped, embarrassed. But smiles, small and tired, began to show in corners of faces. The worst of the panic calmed. That was the low. People sat. People breathed. People shared napkins and soft words. Grace moved from guest to guest, thanking them for patience, putting a steady hand on shoulders. Mr. Stone checked in with the head table and the back rows. Pete stood by the children. Brenda put the lid back on the stew with a firm click, as if that could put the whole night back where it belonged. Tom stepped into the doorway at last, hair a little out of place, sleeve a little torn, eyes alert. He looked straight at Mr. Stone. "We found a small device hardwired into the media wall receiver," he said. "Sticky-backed micro hub hidden low. The pantry camera feed was looped and edited. Someone filmed a second angle from a hand device. We're pulling logs now." "So we are being framed?" Grace said quietly. Tom's eyes moved to Mia and then back to Mr. Stone. "Someone wanted this to hit the room at the worst time," he said. "And they wanted it to look like it came from our own system." "Inside job," Pete said low. "It looks that way," Tom said. "I'm locking down staff access points. No one in or out without a scan." Mr. Stone nodded once. His face was carved into calm. "Thank you, Tom," he said. Then he turned to the room. "We will pause dinner," he told everyone. "We will bring in sealed bottled water and packaged snacks for anyone who needs something right now. We will open the doors slowly and carefully. If you want to leave, we'll escort you. If you stay, we will work to make you comfortable. You are safe." A small wave of relief moved through the hall, soft and warm. Bottled water came out on trays like silver soldiers. Guests helped pass them down the lines. People said please, and thank you again. Fear began to step back. Mia watched all this from her corner near the water pitchers. She felt the room soften. She felt her own breath find a normal rhythm again. She thought of Grandma's roses, how they needed both sun and rain, both calm days and storms. She thought of kindness like a strong rope people can hold when the floor shakes. Lily tugged Mia's apron. "If we're kind," she whispered, "do we win?" Mia kneeled to look Lily in the eyes. "Kindness is not a race," she said. "It's a light. It lets you see. It helps you walk the right way even when the path is dark." Lily nodded like that made sense to her heart even if it was big for her head. Then the radio hissed again, but this time Tom didn't lift it first. The wall screen, which had been calm and quiet, flashed without warning. The stone crest vanished. A new image filled the giant display, clear, color, perfect. A live feed of the dining hall from high above, looking down on all of them like a giant eye. The picture zoomed in by itself, fast and smooth, not jerky like the pantry camera. It cut to the kitchen, then to the hallway, then to the server closet door where a small red light began blinking again, fast. Words in white letters printed over the picture one by one like typed notes. "Look again. You missed a spot. Check the stew." Every head turned to the silver tureen at the same time. The lid vibrated with the small tremor of the heavy doors still finishing their rise. Chef Brenda's hand went to the handle and then stopped. Her eyes darted to Mia and back to the pot. "Do not touch it," Tom said, moving toward the table like a runner at the starting gun. Everyone stepped back. Mr. Stone spread his arms. "Give Tom space." The wall screen zoomed tighter on the tureen as if it could smell it. The letters flickered and changed. "Count your spoons." Brenda's face drained. "My drawer?" she whispered. "My locked drawer." The radio squealed. A guard's voice came hard and fast. "Tom, we found a second device in the kitchen vent, still broadcasting. And the pantry drawer, forced from the inside, 3 spoons missing." Before Tom could answer, a thin, ugly sound rose from inside the tureen, like metal kissing metal beneath the lid. People stumbled back, chairs scraping, shoes squeaking, breaths catching. Lily grabbed Mia's hand so tight Mia felt it in her bones. Tom reached the table, but at the same second the wall screen changed again. The live view split into 2 windows. On the left, the shining tureen. On the right, a hallway camera feed showing the server closet door inching open. A shadow slid between the crack in the frame. A gloved hand reached out, fast, and pulled a small drive from the wall. The door began to shut again. Tom saw it. Mr. Stone saw it. Mia saw it. The shadow moved like someone who knew every camera's blind spots. The door clicked. The picture on the right went dark. "Tom?" Mr. Stone shouted. "Server room now?" Tom spun and sprinted, 2 guards on his heels. Mia didn't think. She put Lily's hand in Oliver's. "Stay with Pete," she said, and then she ran. She ran toward the hallway and reached the server corridor just as the heavy fire-safe side door began to drop again. Slow, but moving. Tom slid under it in one smooth dive. The 2 guards ducked through after him. The gap shrank to a foot. Mia looked back at the hall full of eyes and fear and questions. She looked toward the gap and the blinking red light beyond it. She heard Grandma's voice. "Kindness is strong. It holds the world up. She slid, flat, fast, on her stomach like a letter pushed under a door. Am I? Pete shouted. The door slammed down behind her with a boom that ate the rest of her name. Inside the corridor, the red light strobed, and the server closet stood ahead with its latch sprung. From behind the closet door came a soft scrape and a breath that did not belong to the machines. Mia pushed up on her hands, her heart a drum in her ribs, her breath a small white cloud in the cold air of the server fans. And as she reached her feet, the server door swung wide and a figure stepped out wearing a black cap and a half mask. Their eyes met hers, eyes Mia knew from somewhere she could not place in that bright, shaking second. The figure froze, one hand holding a tiny drive, the other reaching for a switch on the wall. Mia opened her mouth to call Tom. The masked figure slammed the switch. Every light in the corridor went out. The wall screen in the hall burst back to life with new words in a bigger font. Open wide. The silver tureen lid began to rattle on its own as if something under it was trying to get out. The lid on the tureen rattled louder, banging against the silver rim like a drum in a parade no one wanted to see. Guests stumbled back, knocking over chairs. A woman screamed. A man shouted, "It's going to explode." Lily buried her face into Oliver's shoulder. Grace wrapped both arms around them, pulling them close. "Step away from the table," Mr. Stone commanded, his voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. His words steadied some, but the fear in the room still rippled like waves after a storm. In the corridor beyond the fire-safe door, Mia stood frozen in pitch-dark silence. The masked figure's eyes glowed faintly in the emergency red strobe from the server closet. Their breath was steady, controlled, like someone who had done this before. They gripped the small drive tighter. Mia's instinct screamed, "Shout, warn, call Tom." But her voice stuck in her throat. The masked figure stepped closer. She recognized something in the way they walked, a sway in their left leg, a rhythm she had seen before in the house. But where? Tom's voice barked from farther down the hall. "Identify yourself." Flashlights clicked on, beams cutting the dark. The masked figure bolted. In one quick move they threw a smoke canister down. White clouds burst up, swallowing the corridor. Tom cursed, rushing in with guards. Mia coughed, squinting through the fog. She reached for the server closet door, slamming it shut before the intruder could plant more devices. Her fingers brushed something sticky on the frame, adhesive residue from the micro-hub Tom had mentioned earlier. She yanked her hand back, heart pounding. The masked figure vanished into the smoke. Heavy boots thundered as Tom and his men chased. Mia, coughing, stayed low, crawling toward the faint outline of the red strobe. Back in the dining hall, the tureen lid jumped once, twice, and then, clang. The lid flipped onto the table, spinning like a coin. Gasps filled the air. Everyone braced for poison or worms or some crawling horror. But instead, inside the stew floated 3 silver spoons. Ordinary, shining spoons. "What?" someone whispered. Another voice cried, "That's it? Spoons?" Ethan smirked cruelly. "Missing spoons. Tampered food. Case closed." He turned his phone to record Mia's name stitched on the apron again. This is her handwriting on those labels. She had access to everything. Pete stepped forward, blocking Ethan's phone. "That stew hasn't been touched since Mia plated it. You didn't see her put anything in." Brenda's sharp laugh cracked the air. "Of course she wouldn't add it here. She had hours alone with my kitchen. I warned you. You all ignored me." Grace turned sharply. "Brenda, stop it. There are children in this room. This is not a trial." But Ethan's words had already planted seeds in the guests' minds. Whispers spread like fire. "She poisoned the food. Those spoons, why else hide them?" Mr. Stone slammed his hand flat on the table. The noise silenced the hall. His eyes burned like steel. "No one here passes judgment until I see the truth with my own eyes," he said. "Do you understand me?" The hall fell quiet. Then, slowly, he lifted one of the spoons from the stew. He held it up, turning it under the light. Something shimmered on the handle, a faint smear of powdery white. A murmur rose. Someone cried, "That's poison." Mr. Stone didn't flinch. He lowered the spoon into a small glass of water. The powder clouded instantly, curling like smoke. Gasp. Panic flared again. Guests stood, backing away. The piano man scrambled under his bench. One teacher fainted in her chair. Grace grabbed her husband's arm. "William, don't touch it." But William Stone's face was calm, too calm. He set the glass down and turned to his security detail. "Take this to the lab in the East Wing. Full test. No delays." "Yes, sir," a guard said, whisking it away. Brenda pressed a hand to her chest. I knew it. I knew she'd bring shame to this house. Her eyes darted at Mia's empty spot. Where is she now? Running, of course. Guilty always runs. Pete growled under his breath. Or maybe she's doing the one thing none of you are brave enough to do, facing the truth head-on. All eyes turned to him. Pete stood tall, his broad shoulders casting a long shadow across the floor. Mia didn't do this, he said, his voice steady. I'd bet my life on it. The guests whispered again, divided now. Some believed, some doubted. The line between trust and fear was thin as glass. Meanwhile, inside the smoke-filled corridor, Mia crawled forward until her hand hit the small drive the masked figure had dropped in their rush. She snatched it, coughing, and shoved it into her apron pocket. Her chest burned from the smoke, but her mind sparked with one clear thought. This is proof. Tom's voice echoed through the haze. We've lost him. He knows the blind spots. Mia stood, staggering, and stumbled toward the flashing light of Tom's torch. Tom, she coughed. I found this. She held out the drive. Tom grabbed it, his eyes widening. Where? He dropped it, Mia wheezed. By the server closet. Tom's jaw set. Good work. Stay with me. Guards burst out of the smoke, chasing the phantom who had already vanished into another wing of the house. Sirens wailed louder outside. Police lights washed the windows in blue. Back in the hall, the screen flickered one more time. This time it wasn't grainy footage. It was crystal clear, full color, like a movie. It showed Mia again in the kitchen, but not washing her armpit, not pouring a bottle. Instead, she was kneeling by the old woman's orange cart at the front gate that morning, handing her water and biscuits. The hall froze. Then words appeared across the clip, typed by an unseen hand. Kindness hides in plain sight. Gasps filled the room. Grace's hand flew to her mouth. Lily whispered, See? I told you she's kind. The screen blinked black again. And then a new message appeared in blood-red letters. But kindness will not save her tonight. The lights in the dining hall went out. Darkness swallowed the mansion whole. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss. Darkness poured over the mansion like ink spilled across white paper. The chandeliers that once shone like trees of light were dead. The piano was silent. Guests froze, holding their breath as if the air itself had turned dangerous. A single flashlight beam cut through the black. Tom's. Stay calm, his voice boomed. Backup power will engage in seconds. Everyone stay where you are. But fear has no patience. People shifted, chairs scraped, whispers hissed. Someone sobbed. Another person whispered, It's a trap, we're all trapped. Then, from the far corner of the hall, a faint glow appeared. The wall screen flickered back to life, powered by something separate from the house grid. The giant display lit up every face in the room with cold light. On the screen was a live feed of the dining hall, everyone looking small and scared in their seats. The camera panned slowly, smoothly, as if someone was controlling it from above. Gasps echoed as the camera stopped, zoomed in, and focused on the tureen of stew. New words flashed in jagged white letters. Only one person can prove her hands are clean. The camera shifted again, zooming in on Mia. She had just re-entered the hall with Tom, smoke still clinging to her apron. Her eyes widened as the guests turned on her with suspicion mixed with desperation. Why her? Someone muttered. Because she cooked it, another hissed. She has to taste it, a teacher whispered, trembling. No. Pete barked, stepping forward. You won't make her do that. Brenda's voice sliced the air like broken glass. If she's innocent, let her prove it. Or is she too afraid? Mia's throat tightened. She looked at the tureen, at the spoons, at the stew that once smelled like clean rain and ginger. Now it looked like a cauldron waiting to swallow her. Grace stepped between Mia and the table. Absolutely not. She's a child. She won't be forced to eat anything to satisfy fear. But Ethan sneered. Then you'll feed poisoned food to this entire room of teachers? Do you want the city to think the Stones host with filth and lies? His phone was already recording again, his smile thin and cruel. Turn that off. Grace snapped. Mr. Stone raised his hand. His face was carved in shadow, the screen's glow painting hard lines across his cheek. Enough, he said firmly. No one touches the stew until the lab report returns. The crowd quieted, but unease still burned in their eyes. Fear makes people hungry for scapegoats. Tom examined the drive Mia had recovered. This may hold the truth, he said. If we can access it, we'll know who framed her. Before Mr. Stone could reply, the wall screen shifted again. A new video played, shaky, filmed by a hidden camera in the pantry. The angle was low, behind a stack of jars. It showed a figure in an apron, hair in a bun, bent over the pot. The hands poured something from a small bottle. The apron's pocket clearly showed the stitched letters, MIA. The hall erupted in gasps and furious whispers. It's her again. Caught red-handed. This is too much. Mia's knees weakened. She stared at the footage, confusion tearing through her chest. She remembered that moment. Yes, she had leaned over the pot, but not with a bottle. She had leaned to check the salt. She had stirred once, then walked away. That's not me, she whispered. Her voice trembled, but her eyes stayed firm. That's not me. Brenda threw her hands up. How many more excuses? How much more proof do you need? Pete's booming voice silenced the room. Think, he thundered. If Mia wanted to poison this family, why would she stand here? Why would she save a drive? Why would she risk her own neck? This is someone else's game. The guests murmured. Some nodded. Some shook their heads. The room was split in two. Grace pulled Lily closer. The little girl clutched Mia's apron again. I believe her, Lily whispered, loud enough for those nearby to hear. Mia is kind. Kind people don't do evil things. Those words carried. They floated through the room like a fragile lantern. A few guests softened, their suspicion cracking. But others hardened, fueled by fear. Then suddenly the heavy fire-safe doors slammed down again, locking the room in. Screams erupted. Chairs tipped over. Tom's radio screeched. Tom, they've overridden the system again. Someone's inside, still feeding commands. The wall screen went black. Then red letters burned across it, bright as blood. The poison is real. The clock is ticking. A loud ticking sound filled the speakers, echoing in every corner of the hall. Tick, tick, tick. Guests clutched their ears. Someone shouted, "There's a bomb." Mr. Stone stood tall, his eyes narrowing. No. This is psychological warfare. But the ticking grew louder, faster, drilling into everyone's skulls. Then the words shifted again. If she won't prove her hands, someone else will. The screen cut to a new live feed, the kitchen. And standing there, framed by the glow of the emergency lights, was a man in a mask, holding a ladle. He dipped it into the stew. He raised it to the camera lens. Then he tilted it forward, letting the liquid pour slowly onto the floor. The screen zoomed close. The stew sizzled against the tiles, burning black spots as if acid lived inside it. Screams filled the hall. Panic broke like glass shattering. Mia's breath caught. She saw the masked man's hands, steady, controlled. She saw the way he moved. That same rhythm in the left leg. Her mind sparked. She knew that walk. She whispered the name, so soft only Pete heard. His head snapped toward her. You're sure? He asked, his eyes wide. Mia nodded, trembling. Pete clenched his jaw. Then we've got bigger trouble than spoiled stew. The screen went black again. And then with one final flicker, new words appeared. Tonight, the truth drowns with her. The ticking stopped. The silence was louder than the noise. And then, every light in the mansion blazed back on at once, so bright people shielded their eyes. The chandeliers glowed, the piano reflected silver, and the tureen of poison stew steamed in the center of the table like a waiting beast. Tom burst through the corridor doors holding a laptop. I've cracked the drive, he shouted. You'll want to see this. The guests turned toward the screen. The drive's contents loaded. A video file blinked open. And the first frame showed the masked man's face, caught, unmasked, clear as day. Gasps echoed through the hall. Mia's heart slammed. She knew that face. Everyone in the family knew that face. It was someone from inside the Stone household. Someone they trusted. The screen froze there. And before anyone could speak, the lab guard rushed in with a report in hand, shouting. Mr. Stone, the stew tested positive for lethal poison. Enough to kill everyone in this room. The hall erupted again in pure, unfiltered chaos. The report in the guard's hand trembled as much as his voice. Lethal poison, he repeated. Enough for a massacre. The words cracked across the hall like thunder. Panic exploded. Guests rushed from chairs, tripping, pushing, clutching their coats and bags. A woman fainted against the wall. Another man banged on the sealed doors, shouting, "Let us out. We're going to die in here." "Calm yourselves," Mr. Stone roared, his voice steady as iron. "No one is dying tonight." But fear spreads faster than fire. Grace clutched Lily and Oliver tight against her chest, her face pale but her arms strong. "Don't look," she whispered into their hair. Pete planted himself between the family and the crowd like a living wall. His broad frame and thunderous voice cut through the chaos. "Back away from them. Nobody touches the family. And nobody lays a finger on Mia. Still, eyes turned to her. Suspicion crawled back onto faces like shadows creeping at dusk. Whispers hissed, her apron. Her name on the video. She must be working with him. Mia stood frozen, the weight of 100 accusing stares pressing on her. Her hands shook, but her chin lifted. I didn't poison it, she said softly, but no one listened. The noise swallowed her words whole. Tom slammed the laptop on the head table. Quiet, he barked louder than the chaos. We have proof. The wall screen blinked alive again, this time showing the video recovered from the drive Mia had handed him. The footage began in the pantry, clear, high quality. A masked figure slipped in with a small toolkit. He crouched by the security panel, planting the sticky micro hub into the feed. Then he placed a hidden camera behind the jars. Next, he pulled out an identical apron to Mia's, complete with the stitched name MIA. Gasps filled the room. Look, Tom pointed. He disguised himself as her. He planted the footage. This was a setup from the start. The video continued. The masked man poured the poison into the stew with gloved hands. He paused, adjusted the apron to show the stitched letters, then deliberately leaned toward the camera. His eyes glimmered cold behind the mask. The room seethed with outrage. He framed her, someone cried. That poor girl? Lily gripped Mia's hand tight. See? I told them you're kind. Mia's eyes watered, but she held strong. Then came the moment that froze everyone to stone. The masked man finished his work, straightened, and pulled off the mask, just long enough for the camera to catch his face. The wall screen froze on the unmasked image. It was Ethan. Mr. Stone's nephew. Gasps, shouts, disbelief. Grace covered her mouth with trembling fingers. Pete's jaw clenched hard. Tom's eyes narrowed like sharpened knives. Ethan, still standing at the far end of the hall with his phone in hand, went pale. He stammered, That's fake. You can't believe that. But the room had already turned. Guests pointed. Whispers sharpened to accusations. It's him. The nephew. He tried to kill us all. Mr. Stone's eyes burned like fire. His voice shook the hall. Ethan. Tell me this is not true. Ethan swallowed hard, sweat breaking across his forehead. His phone slipped from his hand and clattered on the marble floor. His mouth opened, but no sound came. Then, without warning, he bolted for the side corridor. Stop him. Tom shouted. Guards lunged, but Ethan was fast, fueled by panic. He crashed through a service door, disappearing into the mansion's back halls. After him. Mr. Stone roared. Tom and 2 guards gave chase at once. The room erupted into chaos again, though this time anger overpowered fear. He tried to kill us, someone screamed. Lock the doors. Brenda, who had been silent for the first time, slumped into a chair, her face pale. She whispered, All this time I blamed Mia, and it was him. Grace turned sharply, her voice hard. Yes. And you let suspicion blind you. Mia stood trembling, her heart racing. Relief washed through her that the truth had broken free at last, but fear stayed because Ethan was still out there, and the stew still simmered like an open wound on the table. Pete put a hand on Mia's shoulder. Stay with me, Star. This isn't over. Before Mia could answer, Tom's voice burst from his radio. He's armed. Repeat, Ethan's armed. The guests screamed again, ducking under tables, clutching each other. The mansion's lights flickered once more, plunging the hall into a half-dark glow. Then the wall screen lit up with a live feed again. It showed Ethan running through the mansion's grand library, clutching something metallic in his hand. His face was twisted with rage, his eyes wild. Words burned across the screen in red. Blood demands justice. Tonight, he will decide who dies. The hall fell into terrified silence, broken only by the sound of Lily's sobbing. Mia pulled her close, whispering, I won't let anyone hurt you. But in her heart, she knew, Ethan wasn't just running. He was hunting. And he was hunting inside this very house. The live feed on the giant wall screen showed Ethan storming through the library, his face twisted with fury, his hand clutching the metallic object, now clear as a pistol glinting under the emergency lights. His suit jacket flapped as he moved, his expensive shoes pounding across the polished floor. The guests inside the dining hall gasped as one. A woman screamed, clutching her pearls. Men ducked under the tables. Teachers clung to each other, trembling. Armed? Grace whispered, her voice breaking. She pulled Lily and Oliver tighter against her chest. Pete spread his arms wide, standing in front of the family like a fortress. His voice was low but steady. Nobody touches them. Over my dead body. Tom's radio hissed with urgency. We're tracking him through the east wing. He's cutting toward the dining hall. Armed and unstable. Mr. Stone's jaw clenched. He spoke with steel in his voice. He won't make it through. Seal the inner hall doors. Now. Guards moved swiftly, but before they could complete the lockdown, the wall screen shifted again. This time it wasn't Ethan running. It was his face, close up, sweat dripping, eyes wild. He was speaking directly into the camera, live. You all sit there and look at me like monsters. Ethan spat. His voice echoed across the dining hall. Do you think you know the truth? Do you think you know William Stone? That saint who built his empire? The guests whispered, stunned. Grace's face paled. William, what is he saying? Mr. Stone's face remained hard, unreadable. Ethan's voice rose, almost cracking. That empire was built on betrayal. On the blood of his own brother, my father. He stole everything from him. The money, the company, the future. And you expect me to sit and clap at his charity dinners? You expect me to smile while my family rots? Gasps filled the room. All eyes darted to Mr. Stone. Mia's breath caught. She looked at William Stone, but he didn't flinch, didn't blink. Ethan pointed the gun at the camera, his arm trembling. Tonight was never about the teachers. It was about showing the world who William Stone really is. A thief. A liar. A man who crushed his own bloodline. That poison stew? It was never meant for you. The screen glitched, fuzzing with static. It was meant for him. The hall erupted. Screams, shouts, disbelief. Some guests rose in anger. He tried to kill his own uncle. He would have killed us too. Grace clutched William's arm. William, what is he talking about? Is it true? William's eyes darkened, a storm behind them. His voice was low, heavy. Not now. But the weight of his words only fueled the whispers. Not now. Then it must be true. The wall screen flickered back. Ethan again, now in the corridor just outside the dining hall. The camera followed as if someone unseen was filming. He raised the pistol to the door lock and fired once. Sparks flew. The fire-safe door trembled. Guests shrieked, diving for cover. Get down? Tom's voice bellowed from the radio. Gunshots rang in the corridor. A guard shouted, he's breaking through. Pete pushed Mia down behind the family table. Stay low, star. But Mia's eyes were locked on the screen. Her heart hammered. She replayed Ethan's words in her head. It was never meant for you, it was meant for him. She turned sharply toward William Stone. He's not lying, is he? Mr. Stone's eyes met hers, hard as stone itself. For a moment she saw something, guilt, maybe, or sorrow, before he turned away. Stay out of this, he said coldly. Mia's stomach twisted. The truth wasn't simple anymore. It was tangled in old wounds and family betrayals. Then, bang. The fire-safe door at the end of the hall dented inward. Another shot. Sparks flew again. Guests screamed. The wall screen went black, then flashed red letters. Blood will balance blood. The dented door groaned. Hinges screeched. Another gunshot. The lock sparked again. Tom's voice shouted through the radio. He's almost through. Hold the line. Guards rushed to the door, weapons drawn. Pete tightened his fists. Lily sobbed, hiding in Mia's lap. Oliver's face was pale but defiant, gripping his sister's hand. And then, just as the door shuttered on its final hinge, the wall screen blinked one more time. A new video played, not Ethan, not the stew. It was grainy old. It showed two men younger than they were now, William Stone and his brother Ethan's father, arguing in a boardroom. Papers slammed. Voices rose, though the audio was garbled. Then, in chilling silence, Ethan's father collapsed across the table, clutching his chest. William stood over him, face unreadable. The video froze there. Words burned across the screen. History repeats itself. The dining hall fell into stunned silence. Every guest's eyes shifted from the screen to William Stone. Grace's hand shook. Pete's jaw tightened. Mia's heart dropped like a stone. She whispered, Grandma always said, truth walks slow but it walks straight. And now it's here. Then, boom. The fire-safe door burst open, torn from its hinges. And Ethan stood there in the doorway, pistol raised, eyes blazing, shouting. Tonight, Uncle William pays his debt. The door lay twisted on the marble floor, smoke curling from its broken hinges. Ethan stood in the jagged frame, pistol aimed straight at William Stone. His face was a mask of rage and grief, veins standing out on his neck. Tonight, Ethan bellowed, his voice echoing through the hall, you answer for what you did to my father. The guests screamed, ducking under the tables. Some clutched each other, others scrambled toward corners. Grace shielded Lily and Oliver with her body, her tears streaming. Pete spread his arms wide in front of them, teeth clenched. Tom and his guard stepped between Ethan and the family, weapons drawn. "Drop the gun," Tom commanded. His voice was hard but steady. Ethan's laugh was broken, bitter. "You think I care about dying tonight? You think I care about your guns? He stole my father's life. He stole everything, and the world crowned him a hero." Mr. Stone rose slowly from his chair, his tall frame towering even in the chaos. His eyes locked with Ethan's, unflinching. "Ethan," he said, his voice heavy with power, "put the gun down." "Don't!" Ethan screamed. His hand trembled, but his aim didn't waver. "Don't act like you're still in control. Tell them the truth, William. Tell them how you built your empire on your brother's corpse." The hall froze, breathless. Even the children looked up at William Stone, their small faces pale with fear and confusion. Grace whispered, her voice breaking, "William, tell me this isn't true." For the first time that night, William's shoulders dropped. His face, carved of steel all evening, cracked just a little. His voice came low, like a man speaking to his own ghosts. "I never meant for your father to die," he said. "It was an argument." He clutched his chest. "I called for help. But by the time they came, it was too late." Gasps spread through the room. Guests exchanged looks. Grace staggered back as if struck. Ethan's eyes filled with tears, though his gun hand stayed firm. "You let him die. And then you took everything that belonged to him. The company. The legacy. And you left me and my mother with scraps." "That's not true," William snapped, his voice rising now. "I sent money. I paid your school fees. I gave your mother a home. You gave us crumbs from the feast you stole." Ethan roared. "And now you sit here like a king while my father's name rots in silence." The tension in the room coiled tighter, every second stretched thin as glass. The children whimpered softly. Guests crouched behind overturned chairs, peeking with wide eyes. The pistol gleamed in Ethan's shaking hand. Then Mia rose. Her apron was torn, her face streaked with soot from the smoke, but her eyes were steady. She stepped out from behind Pete's shield and walked into the open. "Mia, no," Pete hissed, grabbing at her arm. She shook her head, her voice firm. "If kindness is strong, then it must be brave too." Her steps echoed across the marble as she faced Ethan. "Ethan," she said, her voice calm but carrying, "killing him won't bring your father back. Poisoning everyone here won't heal your pain. You want justice, but this isn't justice. It's revenge, and revenge eats you before it touches your enemy." Ethan's eyes flickered, confusion flashing for just a second. His gun trembled. "Stay back," he warned. "Don't play saint with me." Mia didn't move. "I'm not a saint. I'm just someone who knows what it feels like to lose. My grandma raised me with nothing. Some nights we slept hungry. But she taught me something: anger builds nothing. Only kindness plants seeds that grow." The hall was silent. Even the guests held their breath. Tears welled in Ethan's eyes. His hand shook harder. "He ruined my family, Mia. He destroyed us." "Then show you're better than him," Mia said softly. "Don't destroy another family tonight. Don't make Lily and Oliver watch their uncle fall the way you watched your father fall. Break the chain here." Ethan's jaw clenched. His finger twitched on the trigger. Tom tensed, ready to fire. Pete's fists balled tight. Grace's sobs broke the silence. And then, bang, the pistol went off. Screams erupted. Guests dove under tables. The children cried out. Grace fell to her knees. Mia stumbled back, clutching her chest. The world spun. Pete roared, charging forward. Tom's men fired. The hall thundered with noise. But when the smoke cleared, Mia still stood, shaking, breathless, alive. The bullet had hit the marble pillar inches beside her, splintering stone. Ethan had missed, or perhaps, in the last second, his hand had shifted on purpose. Guards rushed him, tackling him to the ground. The pistol clattered across the floor, spinning away. Ethan screamed, thrashing, tears spilling. "He killed my father. He stole everything. You'll never understand." They pinned him, cuffed him, dragged him to his knees. The hall stood frozen. Guests peeked out, their faces pale. Grace sobbed openly. William Stone stared at Ethan, his eyes a storm of rage and regret. And Mia stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. "You wanted the world to know the truth," she said to Ethan. "Now it does. But the way forward, that's still in your hands." The guards hauled Ethan toward the door, his cries echoing. "He's a murderer. He stole everything. You'll all see. The guests turned their eyes back to William Stone, and for the first time his mask of power seemed cracked, fragile. Mia knew, the poison wasn't only in the stew. It was in the family's history. And tonight, it had spilled into the open. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss. The guards dragged Ethan out of the dining hall, his screams echoing down the marble corridor. He killed my father. He stole everything. You'll all see. His words clung to the walls long after his body was gone. The guests slowly rose from their hiding places, faces pale, dresses torn, coats wrinkled, fear still heavy in their eyes. The hall looked like a battlefield. Overturned chairs, spilled wine, broken glasses. The once grand charity dinner had become a nightmarish scene. Grace held Lily and Oliver close, rocking them gently. Her face was streaked with tears, but her voice was soft, steady, motherly. It's over. You're safe now. But Mia knew it wasn't over. Not yet. William Stone stood at the center of the room, his tall figure rigid, his silver hair catching the chandelier light. His eyes didn't follow Ethan's exit. Instead, they stared into some distant memory, haunted and unblinking. The guests turned their eyes to him, waiting, demanding. One teacher finally spoke up, her voice trembling. Mr. Stone, is it true? Did you really take your brother's legacy? Another man added, we deserve to know. You're not just a businessman, you hold the city's future in your hands. The whispers grew, a rising tide. Did he kill his brother? Did he steal everything? We trusted him. William's jaw tightened. He turned to face them, his voice firm but low, carrying across the hall. My brother and I built this empire together. We fought side by side. But yes, on the night he died we argued. He collapsed and I could not save him. That truth has followed me every day since. Gasps spread through the room. Grace's hands trembled as she gripped her children tighter. She whispered, William, you never told me. I wanted to protect you, he said, his eyes softening as they met hers. And to protect the children. But Grace pulled back, shaking her head. No. You wanted to protect yourself. All these years, you wore that guilt like armor, but you never gave his family peace. Mia stepped forward, her voice quiet but clear. Truth walks slow, but it walks straight. And tonight it has walked into this hall. The guests murmured in agreement. Some nodded, others crossed their arms. Trust was cracking. Pete clenched his fists at his sides. He had been loyal to William Stone for years, but even he could not hide the storm in his eyes. I served you because I thought you were a man of honor, he said, his voice deep and raw. But honor doesn't hide the truth. William's face hardened again. Be careful, Pete. No, Pete snapped. You be careful. Because the people you think will always bow, sometimes they stand up. Silence fell. Tom cleared his throat, breaking the tension. He tapped the laptop still open on the table. Sir, there's more on the drive. Files. Emails. It looks like Ethan had been planning this for months. He had inside help. Gasps again. All eyes darted around the room. Inside help. The words spread like wildfire. Brenda stepped forward suddenly, her face pale, her hands trembling. I didn't know it would go this far, she stammered. He told me it was just a prank. A way to embarrass Mia. I swear I didn't know about the poison. Every head turned to her. Grace's eyes burned. You worked with him? Brenda's face crumpled. He promised me a share of his inheritance. He said Mia was dangerous for the family, that she'd replace me. I thought I was protecting myself. Pete's voice thundered. You almost killed every soul in this room for selfishness. Brenda dropped to her knees, weeping. Please forgive me. Tom's guards moved to cuff her, but William raised a hand. Wait. His voice was low, controlled. He stepped closer to Brenda. You betrayed my house. My family. For greed. Grace spoke up sharply. And you betrayed your own brother for power. Don't pretend you stand taller than her. Her words cut deeper than any knife. William's face tightened, but he said nothing. The hall buzzed with whispers. The once united Stone family was unraveling before everyone's eyes. Mia helped Lily and Oliver sip water from a glass, calming their sobs. Her gentle hands contrasted the storm around her. Grace watched her, then whispered almost to herself, This girl, the one we doubted, she's the only one who saved us tonight. Mia's cheeks warmed, but she kept her eyes on the children. Kindness isn't a weakness, she said softly. It's the only strength that lasts. Tom's radio crackled. Update, Ethan's in custody. He's demanding a press conference. Says he won't be silent. Says the world must hear the truth about the stones. The guests gasped again. Phones buzzed as news alerts began to spread. The story was already leaking beyond the mansion walls. Mr. Stone looked around the room, his empire of reputation trembling. This dinner was meant to honor teachers, he said bitterly. Now it will be remembered as the night my family fell apart. Mia finally looked up at him, her voice calm but firm. Or it can be remembered as the night you chose to stop hiding. The guests murmured louder. Some nodded. Some whispered angrily. The tension was sharp as glass. And then from outside the hall came a new sound, hundreds of voices chanting, rising like a storm. Reporters. Protesters. The crowd had grown massive, pressing against the mansion gates. The guards exchanged worried looks. Sir, the world is outside. And they're not leaving. The hall froze. Grace held her children close. Pete stood like a soldier. Tom's jaw tightened. Mia's heart pounded. And William Stone, for the first time in his life, looked small in his own house. The wall screen flickered once more. Ethan's face appeared, streaming live from police custody, his eyes wild but triumphant. They can cuff me, he shouted, but they can't cuff the truth. Tonight, the world learns who William Stone really is. The screen went black. The chanting outside grew louder. And inside the hall, the Stone family stood at the edge of collapse. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss. The chants outside grew louder, swelling like thunder. Stone is a thief. Stone is a liar. Justice for Ethan. Justice for the truth. The voices of reporters, protesters, and angry townspeople rolled over the mansion walls like waves crashing against rocks. Inside, the guests huddled close, whispering, afraid. The charity dinner had transformed into a siege. Tom moved quickly, checking his radio. Sir, the gates won't hold for long. The crowds doubled in the last 30 minutes. We need a decision, evacuation or containment. Mr. Stone stood rigid at the head of the table, his silver hair gleaming under the lights, his eyes cold and tired. No one leaves. If we open the gates, they'll rip this house apart. Grace's voice rose sharply. And if you keep the gates locked, they'll storm the walls. William, you can't fight the truth with iron bars. He glared at her, but she didn't flinch. Brenda, still cuffed, sat slumped in a chair, her eyes wide. They'll kill us, she whispered. The crowd will kill us all. Pete snapped at her. You earned those cuffs, Brenda. If anyone falls, your betrayal will be written first. The guests murmured louder, their fear rising. We'll never get out. What if they burn the mansion? What if the food wasn't the only poison? Mia stepped forward, her voice calm, though her hands trembled. Listen to me. Fear is loud right now, but it doesn't have to win. We have two choices, hide behind walls or step into the light. All eyes turned to her. She looked straight at William Stone. You told me cameras tell bad stories when they point the wrong way. But tonight, the wrong way isn't the camera, it's silence. If you keep hiding, the world will write your story for you. And it won't be kind. The guests nodded, whispers turning thoughtful. Grace's eyes softened as she looked at Mia. Even Tom's jaw loosened slightly. But William's face stayed hard. You think I should walk out there? Into that mob? Let them tear my name apart? Everything I built? Mia didn't blink. Or you can walk out there and tell the truth yourself. Then it's not their story. It's yours. The hall went quiet. Pete crossed his arms, his voice low and rumbling. She's right. Tonight isn't about the business or the mansion or the money. It's about whether your children grow up knowing their father was a coward or a man brave enough to face his sins. Grace's hand tightened on William's sleeve. Her voice shook, but her words were firm. They don't need a king, William. They need a father who is honest. William's eyes flickered, his mask of power finally cracking. He looked at his children, Lily clutching Oliver's hand, both pale, trembling, watching him. Their innocent faces pierced deeper than any protest outside. The chanting grew louder, closer. Something banged against the gates. Metal groaned. Tom's radio blared. Sir, they've started pushing the barricades. We're losing control of the outer perimeter. You have 5 minutes, maybe less. William closed his eyes. For a long moment, the hall held its breath. Then he exhaled, heavy as stone. Prepare the balcony, he said quietly. Gasps swept through the room. Grace's eyes widened. You're going to speak? He nodded once. Yes. If the world demands the truth, they'll have it, from me. Tom moved quickly. I'll secure the balcony. Guards in front, snipers on the roof. We can control the crowd if we stay calm. The guests straightened, relief flickering in their eyes. but fear still lingered. As William walked toward the hall doors, Mia followed close, her apron still smudged, her face streaked but steady. "Remember," she whispered to him, "truth doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real." William glanced at her, something unreadable in his eyes. Perhaps gratitude. Perhaps fear. The doors creaked open and the night roared in, thousands of voices, cameras flashing like lightning. The mansion gates trembled under the weight of the crowd. William stepped onto the balcony, flanked by Tom and guards. Grace, Pete, Mia, and the children stood behind, the guests watching through the open doors. The crowd exploded in noise at the sight of him. Booing, shouting, chanting, "Murderer! Thief! Confess! Confess!" William raised both hands, his voice carrying over the sea of chaos. "People of this city," he began, his deep voice cutting through the storm. "Tonight you came for answers. And tonight I will give them to you." The mob roared louder. Some threw bottles, some raised fists. But others fell silent, listening. William's voice trembled for the first time. "Yes, my brother died in my office. Yes, we argued. And yes, I built this empire after he was gone. I did what I thought I had to do, for survival, for success, for family. But in doing so, I let bitterness grow where love should have lived. And that has poisoned more than this stew tonight, it has poisoned generations." Gasp. Murmurs. Cameras flashed. Grace closed her eyes, tears sliding down her face. Lily gripped Oliver tighter. William's voice rose. "I am not innocent of pride. I am not innocent of silence. But I will not let Ethan's pain destroy this house, or this city. If I must step down, I will. If I must pay for my sins, I will. But I will not run from the truth any longer." The crowd quieted. The chants slowed. A ripple of shock passed through the mob. Then someone shouted, "So you admit it." Another cried, "Resign." Another voice, softer, "At least he faced us." The hall behind him was silent. Guests stood frozen. The city waited for his next words. And then, crack. A single gunshot rang out from the edge of the crowd. The balcony rail splintered inches from William's hand. Chaos erupted. Screams. Guards diving. Tom shouting, "Sniper! Get down!" Grace shrieked, dragging the children back. Pete shielded them. Mia grabbed William's sleeve, pulling him behind the stone pillar. The mob roared again, this time louder, wilder. The chant turned into a storm of rage. "Down with Stone! Down with Stone!" Tom's radio screamed. "We've lost control. The crowd is breaching the gates." And from below, the heavy mansion gates groaned one last time, then crashed open as the mob surged inside. The iron gates slammed against the marble walls with a crash that echoed through the night. The mob poured into the mansion grounds like a raging river breaking through a dam. Torches, phones, fists, thousands of voices thundered, "Down with Stone! Justice! Justice!" Inside, the dining hall shook with panic. Guests screamed, scattering toward the far exits, only to find the fire-safe doors locked again. The once glittering room looked like a trap. Tom barked orders into his radio, "Hold the perimeter! Evacuate the guests through the cellar tunnel." Guards moved swiftly, but the pounding of footsteps outside drew closer. Boots, shoes, the thundering rhythm of fury. Grace clutched Lily and Oliver, her arms trembling but unyielding. "William," she cried, "we have to leave now. They'll kill us all." William Stone stood tall, his silver hair catching the frantic chandelier light. For the first time, the mask of control was gone. His eyes showed fear, guilt, and something else, resolve. "If I run now," he said quietly, "then Ethan wins. The truth dies with me." Mia stepped in front of him, her voice strong though her hands trembled. "If you stay here, you die, and your truth dies too. Kindness is strong, yes, but it needs life to grow. Don't waste this moment. Save your family. Save yourself." Pete thundered in, dragging two guards behind him. The crowds breached the foyer. "We've got seconds." His eyes burned at William. "Listen to the girl, boss. Your empire won't matter if your children are orphans by dawn." The mob slammed against the mansion doors. Boom, boom, boom. Splinters flew. The air shook with rage. Tom grabbed William's arm. "Sir, the tunnel. Now." William finally looked at Grace, at Lily and Oliver clinging to her. His jaw tightened. His voice broke. "We go." The guards swept the family toward the cellar passage. Pete and Tom led the way, weapons ready. Grace clutched the children, whispering prayers. Mia stayed close, her apron torn, her face streaked, but her eyes steady. They moved through the dark stone tunnel, footsteps echoing, breaths sharp. Behind them, the front doors finally gave way with a crash. The mob poured in, screams and shouts filling the air. Furniture broke, glass shattered, paintings ripped from walls. The mansion was no longer a home, it was a battlefield. Halfway through the tunnel, the radio on Tom's belt crackled. A guard's voice screamed, "The mob's in the hall. They found the stew. They're shouting it's proof of his crimes, they're burning everything." William's face went pale. "The documents, my brother's will, it's in the study." Grace spun on him, furious. "You still think about papers while your children's lives are at risk?" But Mia touched William's arm gently. "If it's proof, if it's the truth, it has to be saved. Or Ethan's story will be the only one the world remembers." William's eyes burned. "Then we can't leave. We have to get it." Tom cursed under his breath. "The study's upstairs, not in the tunnel. It's suicide." Pete stepped forward. "I'll get it. I know the house better than anyone." "No," William said firmly. "If there's a debt to pay, it's mine. I'll face it." Mia's heart pounded. She thought of Grandma's words, "Truth walks slow but it walks straight." She stepped up. "I'll go with you. I've walked through fire already tonight. I won't let fear win now." Grace's voice broke. "Mia, no, please." Mia looked at her, then at the children. "Kindness is strong because it stands even when it's afraid. I'll bring it back." William stared at her, torn. Then finally he nodded. "We go together." Tom growled but didn't stop them. "Fine. But you've got 3 minutes before this place burns. Pete, stay with the family. I'll cover them." The split was made. Grace, Pete, the children, and the guests were rushed toward the tunnel's far exit. Mia and William turned back, retracing their steps into the storm. The mansion burned in chaos. Flames licked the curtains. Protesters overturned tables, chanting, screaming, tearing. The poison stew spilled across the floor, sizzling against the marble. Mia and William fought their way up the stairs. Shouts rose behind them, "There he is! William Stone!" They burst into the study, smoke curling around the ceiling. William rushed to the heavy safe, his fingers trembling as he spun the dial. Mia coughed, covering her mouth with her apron. "Hurry!" The safe creaked open. Inside lay thick stacks of documents, old tapes, faded photographs. William pulled out a leather folder, his hands shaking. "Here," he said. "My brother's will. The papers I hid all these years." Mia grabbed his arm. "Then let's go." But as they turned, the study door slammed open. A group of masked rioters stood there, faces hidden, eyes burning. "There he is," one shouted. "The thief. Take him." William froze. Mia's heart hammered. She stepped in front of him, her voice trembling but loud. "Stop. This house may burn, but blood won't fix what's broken. Killing him won't give you justice. It'll only plant more poison." The mob hesitated, their fury colliding with her words. Behind them the chant outside shifted, softer, confused. Some lowered their weapons. Others snarled. William, for the first time, placed the folder on the desk, holding it high for all to see. His voice shook but it carried. "Here. The truth. My brother's will. I took what wasn't mine. I confess before the world. But no more blood. If I must fall, I'll fall by truth, not by poison, not by lies." The rioters froze. Cameras flashed from the doorway. The world outside was watching. Mia's heart swelled. This was it, the moment where kindness and truth finally broke through fear. Then, crash. Part of the ceiling collapsed, flames roaring. Smoke billowed in. Screams echoed. Tom's voice shouted from below, "Am I? William. Get out now." Mia grabbed William's hand. Together they ran through the smoke, the folder clutched tight. Behind them, the study burned, the walls groaning as the fire consumed years of secrets. They burst onto the balcony, coughing, gasping but alive. The crowd roared at the sight of them, anger, shock, disbelief all tangled together. William raised the folder high. His voice thundered, "Here is the truth. Judge me by it, not by whispers." The mob hushed. Cameras zoomed. The world leaned in. And Mia, standing beside him, torn apron and soot-streaked face glowing in the firelight, whispered so only he could hear, "Truth walked straight tonight." William's hand trembled, but he held the folder high. Grace and the children watched from the tunnel's end, tears streaming. Pete's fist clenched with pride. Tom stood guard, his weapon steady. The mansion burned behind them. The crowd's roar shook the night. And the truth, at last, was free. Where are you watching from? Thank you for staying with me through this journey. If you were gripped by this story, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because every tale of betrayal, kindness, and truth deserves to be heard.